Hello and welcome everyone to the world of SimStar online classes. I am Shubham Chopra, social science teacher. Students, I am again back with the fourth part of the chapter, that is people as resource of economics for class 9. Students, I'll be discussing the last topic of this chapter, that is unemployment, in this video. So let's start with unemployment. Students, I hope that you still remind that story of Sakal. Now, Sakal's mother, Sheila, looked after the domestic chores, children, and helped her husband Bhuta in the field. Now, Sakal's brother Jitu and sister Situ spent their time playing and roaming. Can you call Sheila or Jitu or Situ unemployed? If not, then why? Now, unemployment. Unemployment is said to exist when people who are willing to work at the going wages cannot find jobs. Sheila is not interested in working outside her domestic domain. G2 and C2 are too small to be counted in the workforce population. Neither Jitu, C2 or Sheila can be counted as unemployed. So student, now you have understood why these three cannot be called as unemployed, because Sheila don't want to work outside her domestic domain. That means she cannot go outside to work, so she cannot be called as unemployed. On the other hand, G2 and C2, they are still children. They are below the age of 10 years, and they are below the age of 15 years, sorry, and they cannot be called as unemployed. The workforce population include people from 15 years to 59 years. So our whole population is being categorized into three different categories. That is, first first category is known as the dependent population, that means of children. Then in between comes the working population, that aged between 15 to 59 years, and people above the age of 59 years are also considered as dependent population. So Sakal's brother and sister do not fall within this age group, so they cannot be called as unemployed. Now Sakal's mother Sheila works for the family. She is not willing to work outside her domestic domain for payment. She too cannot be called unemployed. Now Sakal's grandparents, although not cannot be called as unemployed. Now, Sakal grandparents cannot be considered as unemployed, then definitely because they are aged aging between above the age of 59 years. Now, in case of India, we have unemployment in rural and urban areas. However, the nature of unemployment differs in rural and urban areas. In case of rural areas, there is seasonal and disguised unemployment. Urban areas have mostly educated unemployment. Now we'll study one by one what is seasonal and disguised unemployment and what is educated unemployment. Now in this slide you can see that people are queuing in behind each other for the purpose of getting a job with their resume in their hand, and the employer is sitting comfortably. Now his dialogue written here is that they all want jobs so bad that they are willing to pay for an employment opportunity. That means they are even ready to bribe me for getting a job. So this is the condition of unemployed in our nation, that most of the educated people are still not getting jobs according to their qualification. Now, what is seasonal unemployment? Now, this type of unemployment is more prevalent in rural areas. The farming cycle is season based. There are certain months which are quite busy for a farm worker, and there are many other months when a farm worker is without a work. So, obviously, mostly in rural areas, what we experienced or what we see is that every year in during the farming season the farmers are busy on their farming field, but most of the time they remain unemployed. That means they are remain without any work. So during this time their productivity becomes zero, although they are seen to be employed as a farmer, but in these months they are actually unemployed. So this type of unemployment is called seasonal unemployment. That means during a part of the year they remain unemployed. That means their productivity becomes zero because they are left with no work. Now, talking about another type of unemployment known as hidden unemployment or disguised unemployment. Now, this type of unemployment is also more prevalent in rural areas. To understand this, let us take the example of a family with 8 working members. All of them are working on their farm. The size of the farm makes it possible to be efficiently managed by 5 persons only. The extra 3 persons are not contributing towards any growth in productivity. They are working because they have no other gainful employment. Now, their potential could have given better results if utilized elsewhere. Similar situation can also be seen in some family owned shops where all the family members may be working in the same shop but not adding substantially to the output. Now, students, what we have understood from this is that although people are seem to be employed, that means taking the first example where only 5 people can easily manage the whole farm field, but then 8 members are engaged. That means the 3 extra members, their productivity remains zero because they are not contributing significantly, because their contribution doesn't really matter, because the whole farm field can easily be irrigated, managed by 5 members only, but those 3 people or members are still engaged in that activity, just helping the other 5 members, but their help is of no use because their engagement will cannot increase the overall production of that farm. So this proves that although the people are seem to be employed, but they are actually unemployed because of their zero productivity, and this type of unemployment is known as hidden unemployment. Now the educated unemployed. Now this problem mostly occur in the urban areas. The problem of unemployment among the educated youth is very high in urban areas. Nowadays, even highly educated youths like graduates and postgraduates are unable to find a job. Some analysts suggest that most of the highly educated youth do not possess employability, but most of the analysts say that this is because of demand supply gap. While many technically qualified people are unemployed, there are many jobs remaining vacant because of lack of properly trained person. So students, what we have understood is that today what we experience in urban areas is the educated unemployment. That means most of the graduates and more postgraduates youths who are highly qualified in terms of their qualification, but they are still not getting jobs. Now the problem here is that there is no lack of jobs. Jobs are there, but there is a gap in demand and supply. That means the employer is actually wanting a person according to his or her requirement, but he or she is not getting the aspirants as per his or her demand. So that is the problem. That means people are educated, people are highly qualified, but still they are not up to the mark or to the up to the demands of the employer. So this is the problem which we are facing today in the urban areas, mostly in the urban areas. So this type of unemployment is known as educated unemployed, where an educated person who is seeking for a job is unable to find a job for himself or herself. Now, students, unemployment leads to wastage of manpower resource. People who are an asset for the economy turn into a liability. Now, there is a feeling of hopelessness and despair among the youth. People do not have enough money to support their family. Inability of educated people who are willing to work to find gainful employment implies a great social waste. Unemployment tends to increase economic overload. The dependence of the unemployed on the working population increases. The quality of life of an individual as well as of society is adversely affected. When a family has to live on a bare minimum subsistence level, there is a general decline in its health status and the rising withdrawal from the school system. Hence, unemployment has detrimental impact on the overall growth of an economy. Increase in unemployment is an indicator of a depressed economy. It is also waste the resource which could have been gainfully employed. If people cannot be used as a resource, they naturally appear as a liability to the economy. So unemployment can be emotionally draining on the unemployed person. Obviously, a person who is unemployed, who is willing to do work or willing to pursue a job, will become emotionally sad if he or she is unable to get a job for himself or herself. It can be a financial and emotional drain on his family members. Obviously, being in the category of working population, if the person is still a dependent member of his family, then he is actually putting pressure on his family and on the working member of his family. So it is financially and emotionally draining for him also and for his family members. A large number of unemployed people is ultimately a liability for the society. Obviously, if there will be more and more unemployed people, then they will increase the pressure on the working population and it will decrease their standard of living, and it will impact the health status of the family as well. Now, high rate of unemployment can also increase the crime rate. That means if the people will remain unemployed for a long time, then because of the pressure they may lead towards committing a crime, and which can be harmful for the country. So students, these are the negative impacts of unemployment on the society, on the country. So with this we have completed this chapter. I'll be back with another chapter of your social science. Till then, keep learning, keep watching.